Okay, so you pop a pill, right? Ever stop to think about what it takes to get that medicine from a scientist's lab to your medicine cabinet?
It's a journey, that's for sure. And it's a lot more complicated than most people realize.
That's what we're diving into today. We're talking pharmaceutical engineering, GMP compliance, all that good stuff. And our guide for this little adventure is a company called PBE Expert. We're dissecting their brochure, and trust me, it's way more interesting than it sounds.
Oh, absolutely. This isn't just some dry company overview. This is a glimpse into a world most people don't even know exists.
Exactly. So let's jump right in. One of the first things that caught my eye in this brochure was equipment design and clean rooms. I mean, we've all seen those labs on TV with the guys in the hazmat suits, but what's the big deal with designing this equipment? What's so special about it?
Well, you're talking about creating an environment that's so clean, so sterile, that a single speck of dust could be a major problem, especially when you're talking about, say, injectable medication.
Right, going right into your bloodstream.
Exactly. Or potent cancer drugs, where even the tiniest contamination could be catastrophic. And that's where things like ASME BPE come in. It's this really specific standard for bioprocessing equipment, and it's all about making sure everything meets the absolute highest standards. Think of it like the Michelin Guide, but for pharmaceutical manufacturing.
So it's not just about making the drug, it's about making sure that everything that touches that drug is absolutely pristine. Okay, that makes sense. Now, something else that jumped out to me from the brochure was risk assessment, and they mentioned ICH-Q9 AMDE. That sounds pretty intense.
It is. It's basically like playing a massive game of what if with people's lives, right? PBE Expert, they analyze every single step of the manufacturing process, looking for anything that could go wrong. It could be something as small as a slight temperature variation during production that could completely change how effective a drug is.
Wow, so it's really preventative.
Absolutely, and it's all about anticipating those problems before they happen to ensure the quality of the medication and protect patients.
So they're kind of like detectives in a way.
Exactly, pharmaceutical detectives.
Love it. Okay, another thing I wanted to touch on, because it's mentioned in this brochure, they talk about validation of cleaning and process. So it's one thing to be clean, but it sounds like you have to be able to prove it too, right?
100%. Every single cleaning procedure is documented, tested, validated to a degree that would probably seem insane to most people. It's like, imagine following a recipe, but instead of flour and sugar, you're talking about eliminating any possible trace of residue that could affect the next batch of medication.
And those are lives at stake, really, if you don't do it right.
Exactly. There's just zero margin for error.
So let me just play this back. If you don't get all this stuff right, the consequences could be pretty dire.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, at best, you're looking at drug shortages or meds that just don't work as well as they should. Worst case scenario, you're talking about people getting seriously hurt. And that's not even to mention the regulatory fines, damage to a company's reputation, all of that. That's why having an expert, like PBE Expert, in your corner is so crucial in this industry.
So looking at the bigger picture here, this brochure really drives home the point that it's not just about chemistry. Getting a new drug to market, it's this whole web of interconnected processes that all have to work flawlessly.
Yeah, it's science, it's engineering, it's navigating a ridiculous number of regulations. PBE Expert is like, what's a good analogy? They're like Sherpas, guiding drug manufacturers through this crazy maze, making sure they don't take a wrong turn and put patients at risk.
So they're like the ultimate quality control, making sure that patients are getting the best and safest medication possible.
You got it. They're the unsung heroes working behind the scenes so the rest of us can, have medications we can trust.
I don't know about you, but this has been a real eye-opener for me. Like, I never really thought about all the work that goes into that little pill I get from my pharmacist.
And we're just scratching the surface here. This field is constantly evolving. Technology is changing, regulations are changing, and it's just getting more and more complex. It's actually kind of a fascinating thought experiment, right? Like, will AI make all this simpler in the future? Or will the regulations just get even more intense, making groups like PBE even more important?
Now, that's something to think about, right? For our listeners, if you found this whole peek behind the curtain of pharmaceutical engineering as interesting as we did, head over to ISPE's website, the International Society for Pharmaceutical Engineering. It's a rabbit hole, I'll warn you, but a fascinating one.